Hello and welcome back to another episode of Around the Horns. As always, we have Coach Jim Schloss this morning. Coach, I assume you're doing a little bit better after a pretty wonderful weekend there at the Dish.
Yeah, it was a awesome weekend. Obviously, a better finish to the week than start. But I got to be honest, the crowds, Tuesday night, it was packed and the fans were awesome. I don't know if that was because of spring break and people had, they were looking for things to do. Hopefully, it's a sign of things to come as to what even our midweek crowds can be like. Friday night was great too. The on-field results weren't what we wanted, but overall, programmatically, I thought the entire week was great. And then really proud of the way we played Saturday and Sunday.
Yeah, that was actually going to be one of my first questions was, you've played a lot of games at University of Texas, obviously from the visitors dugout, but what was your experience of the crowd this weekend, or just how did it compare to maybe some of the past times that you've been here with other teams?
Most of the time I've been here, well, I guess, the conference series, when we came down here in the Big 12 with TCU, there were some comparisons. I can remember specifically 2018 when the University of Texas at Cody Clemens was playing, since he carried the entire team. And I remember his walk-off homer against us. And then I think all three games were close. They swept us.
Yeah.
And the crowd was pretty tough that year. But, there's something different when the other team travels too. And, I think the fans, tell me if I'm wrong, but I think the Texas fans could feel the whole SEC thing and the fact that it's LSU. That means a lot. Their proximity to be able to travel as well. It was just awesome. And like I said in the press conference yesterday, it's always a great sign to me when the crowd is a part of the team, spurs on the team, can feel the big moments, can, clapping with 2 outs and 2 strikes, even in the first inning, not just the ninth inning. So that interaction from the crowd is what makes it special. And I want them to know, number one, how thankful our team is, and our staff is, but it's the impact they have on recruiting. Because we had a lot of our 2025 and 2026 commitments here. Some of those guys, specifically in the 25 class, are going to have to make choices between college and professional baseball. And I texted a few of them after the game on, Saturday night. After being, I would ask them, "How's that experience?" And they, "Coach, that was one of the best nights in baseball in my life, and I didn't even play." And I said to one of them, "How can you not want to play at Texas versus sitting on a backfield in a minor league system somewhere playing in front of 3 girlfriends, some parents, and a scout?" I mean, it's incredible. So it all is interworking. This is a long answer to your question, but everybody has a role in this thing, including the fans, and we're super grateful.
Yeah, it was funny. I think it was actually on Saturday as well. Someone in the press box asked me, and they said, is there normally this many visiting fans? And I said, no, typically not. But I said, to your point, you mentioned a proximity, but I also said, people don't realize how many LSU fans that live in Austin. Some of my best friends that I grew up with all went to LSU, and they've now moved back to Lafayette or, otherwise. But I was like, they're just in general, Austin being a big city, there's a lot of LSU fans, but they also travel really well. And I remember a lot of Omaha trips, whereas, Texas wasn't there, but LSU, and they always, but I thought that, to your point, the Texas fans got in the game really early. And, Max Grubbs mentioned, he was like, "Man, the Texas fans carried me." He's like, even if I didn't feel 100%, he goes, they were behind this the entire way. They were in it with every pitch. They were in it at every out. And so,
yeah, I think one thing that Texas fans, I believe you and I talked about this. I know I've talked about it with several people. I think one thing that Texas fans will notice, especially in football, I hope it rings true in baseball. LSU is a unique crowd. They travel to a lot of places. But I think one thing that people will notice with Texas and the SEC, and this is not a slam at the other towns, but they're actually, most of the trips in the SEC are small college towns.
Yeah.
So, to go into a small college town and spend 3 or 4 days or 4 days, 3 nights, not a ton going on, other than the games. And that's one thing I noticed when I was at A&M is people would say, "Hey, when do you play Vanderbilt?" And it was Nashville.
Mm-hmm.
They wanted to go to Nashville and have a great weekend. And I think we saw this in football. You saw Florida travel well. You saw Kentucky travel well. Austin was full of those people, and
Yeah.
it's because as soon as the schedule comes out, you scroll down the list and you say, "Oh wow, we go to Austin." And let's go ahead and make a weekend out of that,
Yeah.
because there's so many other great things to do. It's easy to get to. There's great restaurants. This weekend we had awesome weather, so I would prefer the whole stadium be burnt orange, but it's also cool to have all the fans there. I think that's great for everybody.
Yeah, certainly the first year of the SEC has been a unique experience. You mentioned some of the football games. I was at the Kentucky game, and I was surprised and maybe shocked at how many Kentucky fans, but some of them just came, to your point, to experience the city. Most of them didn't even go inside the stadium. They were just there to have fun and enjoy the scenery, if you will. It was spring break. Did you have any concerns maybe around that, just in terms of student engagement and concerns about folks getting out during the spring break time?
Well, I've learned that usually, I'm learning Austin. College Station was certainly like this, uh, and even Fort Worth. What you lose in student attendance, you gain in that local family of four who maybe they're not going to Colorado or Cabo, uh, for spring break. They're just home, and they have their kids. Their kids aren't in school. They're looking for something to do, and that's where we need to, and we have done. We just need to continue to market those types of weekends, and I got to do a good job of making sure we play at home on that Tuesday. It's easy to defer to, well, we're on spring break. This would be a good time for us to maybe play a road midweek series, a midweek game, since our kids aren't in class, and we may do that sometimes. But when you're at home, you have maybe more local fans can get to the games. How do we get them the tickets? And I go back to, if you're not using your tickets, please send them. Send them to me. I distributed probably 30, 40 extra tickets this past weekend. Some of the other weekends it was a couple hundred, but but this weekend there weren't that many extra tickets. So yeah, it was really good, and we don't control the conference schedule, so we could get sent on the road for spring break, but the midweek game was great.
Yeah. I guess, looking at the series, it was kind of perfect timing maybe to have spring break because the kids aren't in school. When you're facing a big team like LSU, you have a little more time maybe for them to prep, or, you talk about them being in the batting cages all the time anyways, like they're just grinders. But does it help to have this kind of school break right before a big series?
Yeah, I think it helps. It helps anytime because they're getting extra rest. Um, it does give them more time to come to the batting cage, but we actually have to this particular group, we have to put a time on them to where they actually can't come to the field prior to, if we have a 6:30 game, we weren't letting guys come in at 11 a.m., because if they could, they would. So we gave them a time where, hey, no hitting before 1 o'clock or 12:30, stuff like that. But I think what it gives you is rest, especially after a really long Tuesday night game, with 12 innings or what it was. So it gave us some time to recover and get back and ready for the weekend.
Yeah. And then speaking about the weekend, overall thoughts. We always talked about the SEC is a grind. There's no easy day. You're going to get punched at some point. Just how pleased were you as a overall from their response on Saturday, and then to come back Sunday knowing that LSU kind of felt like, oh man, we got punched. You kind of maybe missed out on an opportunity. It's our time to go get it.
Oh yeah, it was your classic SEC weekend. You're facing an elite Friday night starter. How do you beat it? How do you beat a SEC Friday night starter? And unless he has a bad night, you have to pitch with him. And I thought that Spencer competed, but he was not efficient. And Cade Anderson is really good. He's an experienced starting pitcher. Spencer's still evolving as a starting pitcher. And Kate Anderson was great, and they got a couple big swings. We gave them. I think we lost the free base war like 11-1, and part of losing it is the other team not giving you any. And if their guy's throwing a ton of strikes and they're not making errors, then you're not going to get that many free bases. So, but I thought that was just a game that we hung with them for a while, and then in that scenario, what you're trying to do is, I brought Dre in the game because I was like, okay, I don't want to burn Grubbs or Riojas in this scenario. Dre could be a good matchup. He can maybe keep us close, but it didn't work out well. But what we did do is when they brought Zach Cowan in the game, is we had good at bats against him, and we got him to 55 pitches. To the point where I don't know the hierarchy of their pitching staff, but he didn't pitch again on the weekend, and he's been one of their most reliable relief pitchers. So part of that I've learned in this conference is you can lose the battle, but maybe it helps you win the war over the course of the 3 days. So we got him to 55 pitches. It didn't taste good to lose that game, but that's just. I mean, we're not playing. We're not playing some soft team. We're playing top 5 teams, and it's certainly for the most part it's going to be like that every weekend. But I was really proud of the way we bounced back, and Harrison was good enough. Max kind of did what he does especially on a really windy day, tough day to pitch, and we got some big swings and came back on Saturday.
Yeah, the week over week it just continues to be evident, kind of the. Just the development and the continued growth of those kind of middle inning guys, Grubbs, Riojas, Andre, even a Cody Howard who, was able to chuck 2 innings and on this weekend, and a guy like, it was on Tuesday night, but oh my gosh, Cade Being, and just kind of the continued growth there of those guys can go out and that they can give you at least 2 innings. It's not like, man, I'm going to have to burn through 6 arms in one night. And then that really sets you up well. You talked about it last night after the game, but it really sets you up well, not just for the weekend, but also the week ahead to kind of get guys rest and get them ready and prepped.
Yeah, I want to mention Cody Howard specifically because he's kind of had a lot, whatever you call that. I mean, just hadn't had the greatest career, started out at Baylor, wasn't very highly thought of, ended up here, not sure what the situation was for him last year, just not very confident. And he's got a good arm and he has good stuff. It's just a matter of him having the confidence to throw it in the strike zone. And the innings he gave us on Tuesday night, and then to come back and give us solid innings on Friday to keep us at least somewhat within shooting distance and allow us to drive up the pitch count of Cowan. And so if we can get that, guys like Bing, Jason Flores, obviously still in the mix, Cody, Hudson Hamilton, and I really want to try to get Saunier going somehow because if you can get those guys to give you 6 to 9 outs a week, either in a midweek game or maybe even if you're losing a game or maybe if you're winning a game big, then it allows those other guys to kind of catch their breath, like a Grubbs, Dre, Ruger. And if they would take a real big step, which maybe Cody has, then maybe you can slide one of them in the rotation, whether it be Ruger like we saw yesterday. Grubbs has obviously started games, and which allows us to keep Balanis where we have him. So it's all interrelated.
Yeah. From going back to the kind of the team confidence aspect, did you kind of maybe pull the guys aside either Saturday or Sunday and say, look, this is why I keep stressing that, you follow the path, right? You continue to trust the process, trust what the work you put in, because if you put the ball in play and you play a solid brand of baseball, good things are going to come after having got punched on Friday night.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not a big speech guy. Sometimes you just want to remind them when they get a little down of who they are. And the only thing I said to the team before the game on Saturday is, we're playing a good team, but you're the Texas freaking Longhorns, man. I mean, I want to go out there and play like it. You're certainly capable of achieving anything you want to achieve. And then, like I said, after the game on Saturday, is I thought our dugout was a little down. It wasn't the same. If you were watching us on TV in Starkville, you could, when you're on the road, I think you pull together a little bit more. And when you're at home, that's where the fans come into play. And I think our dugout, frankly, got a little lazy and was a little more quiet. And not that we want to be a ragtag Bush League cheering bunch, but this team relies on the support of each other. Every team does, but especially this team. And so those guys got back to what we call spotting, and I think that permeated throughout the team.
Yeah. And then, going back to, you mentioned Volantis earlier and having him as, the spots that he's come up big in. If you think back to the summer, think back to the fall, y'all were putting 18-hour days trying to quickly and very, short time frame build this thing up. How much does that allow you to point to your current recruits and say, look, we've had a very small time frame here. Look what we've been able to do. Here's the success we've had. Obviously, the season's very early on. You still have 8 more conference series, but how to use that as kind of the blueprint going forward of saying, look, this guy was, borderline major league draft. Here's what we can do and help, position you for success.
Yeah, we use it a lot. Matter of fact, we had a left-handed pitcher on a visit Saturday. Yeah, Saturday. And a high school player. And we were just, today, all the question the high school player parents and the kids normally have is, oh, wow, transfer portal. Am I going to get to pitch? Or, golly, your class is kind of big. Talk to us about that. And so you have to run through all that stuff. And I think college coaches, what I tell them is, they listen, don't even listen to what I say, because the college coach could tell you anything you want to hear.
Yeah.
Just go look at the proof in the pudding. Go look at our time in A&M last year, where we had one of the most veteran teams in the country, and we started 5 different freshmen in game. 5 starting pitchers were freshmen at some point during the season, right? We found a way to get all those guys starts, get them experience. And then this year, Valanis, Rarick, Jason Flores have all started games, and it's not out of the question you couldn't see Bryce Navarre at some point, and they've certainly all pitched in big roles. And so I think when guys see that, and Adrian Rodriguez playing out there, Cole Chamberlain having a big role, I think when they see that, then they're way more to believe and see a pathway for them to get to play.
Yeah. I know it's, that literally the day after, so you probably haven't had a ton of time to sit down with Max and talk about it yet, but did this weekend kind of alter perception around some of the pitchers you have, in terms of, hey, maybe this looks like the blueprint going forward, where we have Riojas on a Sunday. We have Volantis as that safety blanket because we know he's going to fill up the zone and offers a little bit of a unique look.
Well, it means Volantis is certainly, I don't want to say he's entrenched where he is right now, because he could go start a game for us if we felt like we needed to do that. I think we're still a work in progress. I haven't decided what we're going to do Tuesday. It could be Bing. It could be Flores again. Sometimes you want to figure out, who do we want to follow who. Sometimes you'd rather have X player following Y player versus Y player following X, because you'd like to get better as the game goes in terms of strike throwing, not worse. Or you don't want to get in the middle of a game and now you have this guy set up to pitch and you're like, oh my goodness, he's not the greatest strike thrower. So we have to figure that out. But boy, if we could ever get to the point where we could give a guy like Ruger or Max or even Volantis, say, okay, you're going to be a starter. You get a full routine, which affects how they lift. It affects how when they do their, pre-work during the week leading up to the weekend, and maybe they can even be that much sharper. So that's a luxury that not many teams have. Maybe we can get there, but more than likely the formula will be let's just win them as we go and see what happens.
Yeah, that makes sense. You've talked about that Sunday TBA being a pretty consistent thing throughout the SEC, just because there's times where you're going to need to go win a game or steal a game, if you will. I saw both Flores and Volantis at various times on Friday night not get up and start throwing heavy, but they were certainly getting loose and stretching just in case y'all were, had the opportunity. So, I guess touching on Riojas, he was kind of a known entity, being an older guy. He'd been at UTSA, had a lot of experience, but, has he shown anything maybe mentality wise or extra that y'all weren't expecting from him in his innings so far?
I think you never know about a player until you coach him. So we had gotten good reports on his makeup. He's somewhat of a local kid. He seemed great on his visit, but you never know until you spend time with him, and you never know until, especially for Max, you get down there and create a relationship and see what the guy's all about, and then see him handle adversity, see what kind of teammate he is, and all those things go into it. I mean, Ruger, Max, Dylan Volantis he's so good at just having a really slow heartbeat, and nothing really bothers him. Yeah. He just takes the ball and goes out there and throws strikes, and it doesn't matter the situation. So I would say we've learned a lot about Ruger since he's been here, and all of it's been positive. And he was the guy. Max has done such a good job with him. He was the guy as a reliever at UTSA that mainly pitched off that kind of ride fastball. He threw against us at A&M last year, and I was like, who is this guy? And and now, he had a good breaking ball last year, but now he has two good breaking balls and a fourth pitch. And so that's very starter-ish, but it also allows him to go, as a reliever, allows him to go through the lineup a couple times. So we need to give him some rest, though. This was a big week for him in terms of the workload, and we need to get him off his feet for a week and let him catch back up so he can be ready to go against Missouri.
Yeah. Just two other things on Ruger. I mean, you talked about the crowd earlier, and his face absolutely lit up in the post game when someone asked from the media scrum of, what was your experience with the environment and how big was it for you to get that ovation coming off? And he's a pretty reserved guy, pretty confident guy, but he just couldn't stop himself from just bursting out and like, yeah, man, that was amazing. And of course the internet was going crazy with his hat, Dominate the Zone. And everyone, of course, is like, "Wow, oh my gosh, what is this going on?"
Yeah. So Max Weiner does such a good job of creating a really unique culture within the pitching staff, and he's not afraid to go on whatever websites, I don't even know what they are, SB maybe or something, where he'll create a different hat. That was his Christmas present to just about everybody, not just the pitching staff, but on our coaching staff. We all have our own little hats made by Max that have, when he thinks of us or whatever, maybe some saying we use. He gave one to Nolan, he gave one to Troy, he gave one to me. But yeah, Ruger's awesome. He's quiet, but he is hilarious, and he beats from a little bit different drum. And these guys, man, I hope they're enjoying this. You want them to enjoy it. You don't want them to take advantage of it because we have a game tomorrow and this weekend's over and done with. If you're still talking about what you did yesterday, you haven't done much today. But at the same time, what an awesome time in their life, I try to remind them they all want to move on to the next step and play professional baseball, which is great. But if you ask Tulowitzki or you ask any guy that's even in the big leagues, it's never going to be as fun as college baseball. It's never going to be as fun as being a Texas Longhorn playing at Dish Falk in an SEC game, And so you want those kids to enjoy it and soak it in.
Yeah. And then last question, I know you've got things to do today, but anyone poking the proverbial bear with Nolan being an LSU guy, obviously, who had success against Texas in the 2009 championship?
Poking the bear, like from
just giving a hard time about Texas beating LSU and that kind of series.
I haven't heard anybody bring it up.
Okay.
No, he's he and his wife both went to LSU. They still have a ton of family over there and friends, but I promise you it all goes out the door when we play the game. So Nolan's very highly thought of in Baton Rouge, as he should be. He put together most of that national championship team in 2023. And they're still kids. Jared Jones was committed by Nolan. He still has his thumbprint all over that roster. So, which is why he's very good. I mean, you got the great players at LSU, the great players at A&M, and some of the great players here. He recruited. So he's the best of the best.
Yeah, that was very evident. When Jared Jones went over to third base, which I thought was crazy considering just the player he is. It was a cool moment to see him get to, just dap up Nolan, because they've obviously had a long relationship having recruited him for so long. So, okay. Well, Coach, I know you got lots to do, so I'll let you go, but appreciate the time as always, and hook 'em. Good luck this week.
All right. Everybody have a great week. We'll see you tomorrow night. Hook 'em.